LPL 已经进入了常规赛最后2周的争夺，在当前的赛制下，得到小组第一就意味着能够直击4强，
也代表着能够握住一个参加洲际赛的名额。所以，对于东西部2组前2的队伍来说，这都是一次不能错过的机会。
在上周的比赛中 ，Snake 没有辜负重庆主场粉丝的热情，捍卫了西部第一的宝座。
而在狂野的东部 ，IG 和 RW 延续着各自的连胜记录，势必要在这周的正面对话中一决雌雄。
而除了这场联赛霸主间的世纪之战，这一周还有其他比赛将决定几支队伍的命运。
周日的电商大战也是一场赌上季后赛门票的较量，两队势必会擦出令人激动的火花。
临近季后赛，每一场胜利都可能改变半区的积分情况。对于各位选手，这周可能是最为关键的一周；对于我们观众来讲，这周应该是最精彩的一周。
While playoffs may be raging with upsets and other exciting games in other regions, the LPL is now 12 game days away, 13 total days from finding out who we will send to the playoffs and who will get to chase the 2018 LPL Spring Cup. And as we just saw, it is week 9. The teams are neck and neck, and only 2 spots remain in the East Conference, so every single match counts, every single game matters. And as you just saw on your screen, SMLZ absolutely thrilled to get into those matches. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Dominic Dom Romer. Joining me here on the desk, we've got Clement Chu. And I gotta say, Clement, which of these matchups are you most excited for? Because we are getting right up to the very end, and we still don't know who we're sending.
Yeah, the key number here is really 4, because you only have 4 games left of the split to decide your fate in the LPL. The big matchups we're looking at this week, Rogue Warriors versus IG. Yeah. Everyone wants to see that one. Both massive win streaks so far, but also, as mentioned in the intro right there, the e-commerce wars between Suning and Jingdong Gaming is going to decide the last place in the Eastern Conference for playoffs.
Yeah, and now to give some insight into that, let's actually bring up the standings on your screen right now so you can take a look yourself and see where these teams are standing. Suning and Jingdong 8-7 and 7-8 respectively. And like you said, it's the top 4 teams that make it into playoffs, and only 2 spots are left from the East.
Yep, pretty much. The big ones we're looking at are, can FPX and can Jingdong Gaming really make a run into the playoffs? Also, who is going to take the top slot? Because if you do take the top slot, you are guaranteed to go to Rift Rivals.
Very important setup for these teams. On the opposite side, of course, you saw some close lineups as well. But for our games today, we're taking a look at the East. It's Suning versus Rogue Warriors, and just after that, Jingdong get a chance to take on TOP.
Theoretically, today, Jingdong should be able to catch up to Suning Gaming. They have the much easier matchup against TOP. And if that happens, we're going to have an even footing leading into our e-commerce wars between Suning and Jingdong in the weekend.
Like you said, 8-7 versus 7-8. And if you just run it off the standings, it could go all the way to 8-8. And of course, those teams will be playing on Sunday. But that being said, let's take a look at our best of the Rift for last week, week 8 of the LPL. And while Invictus Gaming, they're first in the league right now, they have 3 members taking that best of the Rift priority.
The big one to look at here is, of course, IG, 1 over RNG. So they get 3 members on the board. The big one, Jackie Love, finally taking his revenge for his team over Uzi. So 3rd place, CSD, really taking it to the master in the LPL at laning. That's a score that I don't think anyone is going to be besting anytime soon. Also, huge shout out to Ning, really taking it to Karsa in the jungle, completely shutting him out. 2nd place versus 3rd place matchup according to Raz's rankings. And Scout finding his footing with Talia. Great showing on the Azir as well.
Yeah, we were able to see that Azir turnaround to keep his team alive. That said, top lane will go to Flandre. A lot of first place up there as Snake still at the top of their own conference. But Clement, if my eyes don't deceive me, that is Flandre, the top laner. You are very passionate.
Yes,
about
I am
top
very
laners.
passionate.
Yes.
I talked about him last because he's actually a very familiar person with being best of the Rift. 8
Yeah.
weeks so far, he's appeared on half of them.
Yeah.
So that's going to be our lead-in to my top lane tier list.
Your top lane tier list. Okay, so what are we looking at for your top lane tier list? This is, of course, your opinion, your thoughts on who are the best 10 top laners in the league. Is this overall skill, or is this just for the Spring Split?
This is basically only for the Spring Split, so you're not going to see people like Xiang and 957. Their teams haven't been doing that well. And the big things I've judged the players on is team fighting, laning, team synergy, and champion pool. Those are the 4 big things I look at. So let's dive in. First one that a lot of people might be surprised about is Mouse at number 8. So he's here over a lot of better mechanical top laners because he's a perfect fit for his team. He draws a lot of attention. He's one of the hardest top laners to kill. Takes over 12,000 damage to kill him once. And he's not been doing that bad in lane. Has also shored up his champion pool. So he's 8th for me.
And then just ahead of him, you can see Zatai actually stepping up over Let Me, the new top laner for RNG.
And I do have to explain myself why. Zatai is about experience and efficiency. He actually has the best success rate on roams. 91% of the time when he leaves his lane, he'll get either a kill or an assist. And also, RNG does turn toward him in big games like against IG.
Xiao Ao just ahead of him.
Now this one, a lot of people might not know who he is, but if you ask last split who was the top 3 best top laners, Xiao El was on everyone's list. So the big thing about him is he plays tanks and bruisers equally well. He's really good on the solo kills, and if you look at his team fight mechanics, they're really good. But the problem is, the reason he isn't higher is he kind of throws a lot. We have footage of him throwing 3 games for Suning so far, so he can't go any higher than 6.
Well, we'll get a chance to see him up next. Just afterwards, though, we'll also get to see number 5, Marin.
Okay, so Marin could have gone higher, but the reason he's at 5th is because most games he actually doesn't do anything, and that's because he's the most ganked top laner in the LPL by a very large margin. However, when he does get to go into the team fights on an even footing, he's so good. We remember the Kennen, we remember the Gnar, so he still takes that 5th place.
But that said, those are just the middle of the pack top laners. Clement, I want you to explain to me your top 4. These are the big 4 top laners that we're looking at here. You said you were ranking by team fighting ability. Let's start there.
All right, so we're going to go with our 2 big team fighters. Number 3 on my list is Amazing J. Now, he's basically, he plays the archetype of low econ initiator about as well as you possibly can. So, very hard to kill in lane, has very low deaths, and if you look at his kill participation, he leads the LPL in the top laner. He's always there for his team. 23 teamfight initiations. That's also the highest in the LPL. This guy has very good teamfight mechanics, and even though sometimes people harp on his laning phase, I actually think he plays conservatively. He isn't bad. He actually has the 6th highest raw CS score, so he's not losing out a lot in lane. And also for champion pool, unlike a lot of tanks, he has a Camille pick for him, so that gets an A for me as well.
Yeah, and on the other side, the other team fighting top laner, Flandre, of all people.
Oh, so Flandre, you guys know him. He's basically the flank god. First thing you know about him is the damage share. 28.8, that's the highest for any top laner in the league. I also highlighted the number of kills he has at 91. Why that is important is because a lot of the times he is actually doing the initiation for his team, and he's also walking away with the most kills. He's blowing up the backline incredibly fast and giving Snake those huge, decisive teamfight wins in the late game.
Yeah, you can see how much value he brings to the team with the likes of SOFM and Guoguo, able to find kills onto Long and chase it down time after time. The gank before, it was 3 members trying to bring him down, and they couldn't even stop him.
And that right there was the #1 play for week 9 there, and he's probably the best Gangplank player we have in the LPL as well. If you want to see Vladimir play, you want to see Gangplank play, you turn to Flandre.
Yeah, well, you mentioned those were your team fighting top laners. That's not the only thing that happens in League of Legends. We've still got laning phases. We've still got skirmishes. Walk me through why Zoom, a name that some fans at home might not be too familiar with, is taking your 4th place here.
All right, so Zoom has been flying under the radar. I think he's the best fantasy player in the LPL. If you want to pick him up, do it now.
Point value.
You think about CSD, the highest isn't actually the Shy. It's actually Zoom. And Zoom is kind of like an inverse AJ. He's amazing in lane, mainly a tank player, amazing in lane, but kind of weaker in terms of the team fighting. Now, the laning part is really what struck me as being incredible. Highest CSD, highest CS score as well. And also he sets up the ganks for Clid very, very well. Highest first blood participation for the top laners as well. And just to prove that he has the laning chops, here's him solo killing the Shy. That's like Loch Ness monster rarity level of footage.
Bigfoot level of the Shy dying, yeah. Here we can see him going one-on-one against Ray, flashing over the tactical sweep to dodge the damage and healing and then get another kill. This guy has got the mechanics to play it out. Question is, though, he's at 4th place.
Yes.
Who's number 1? You mentioned his name earlier. I'm sure the folks at No Mall know it, but I have to ask.
All right, this is an easy one for everyone out there. The answer is the Shy.
Yeah.
And the reason is he basically makes everyone else on the list obsolete. So he's a very good fighter, very good in lane, but he can actually play tanks fairly well. The Ornn play and the Cho'Gath play from him have been very amazing as well, and he's not hot-headed and super aggressive. He's good at dodging ganks as well. So a lot of the stats you will see from him are kind of expected. Highest DPM, highest GD at 15, CSD at 15, only second to Zoom right there on his left side. But the thing I really want to point out and what makes him so incredibly dangerous really is the champion pool. So of the past 10 games, there has been 23 bans thrown at him. And 61% of the times, people have to ban away the Camille from him just because of this reason you're seeing on screen right now.
Kill after kill. Here you can see the entirety of EDG chasing him down. He turns and stands his ground, winning the fight for IG.
And he's one that's willing to push it to the absolute limit. Just watch the end of this team fight right here. Goes back in when having less than 100 health. Now, the only weakness to the Shy so far that I've been able to spot is that sometimes he can be a tilt lord. He will tilt off the face of the planet. 0-7 and 0-5 starts respectively the split.
That said, though, when he's really feeling it, when he's really feeling the emotion, it is truly a beauty to behold. Here we can see him against RNG when he was just able to demonstrate what happens when Zatai, of all people, Zatai gets outlaned, and just a massive performance from the likes of the Shy there. But what does he do that makes him the best top laner in the LPL, if not one of the best top laners in the world? How does he make other top laners just obsolete?
Well, I think the core goes back to his mechanics. He's probably the best mechanical player I've seen. Now, he started his career as a River and One Streak streamer in the LCK. He never actually played in the LCK, but he was very popular there. So if you look at a lot of his footworks, they're incredibly immaculate. This is a very smart player that can read situations incredibly fast. So just because of his natural talent in the footsies, in the mind, he's able to play team fights well. He's able to play laning phase well. He's kind of like a god. And the only thing about gods is that they sometimes have hubris. And when he tilts, he's like, I can't believe I'm failing. And that's what leads to his downfall, but we haven't seen it that much this split.
Yeah, well, there certainly could be an opportunity for Rogue Warriors to take knowledge of this, because they will be playing against Invictus Gaming later this week in our match of the week, which is going to be hype as heck. First versus second. They've already proven none of the other teams can keep pace, but that's still happening later on this week. Still, though, RNG, they've got their opponents ahead of them just up next. Suning in their first match today. Xiao Ao versus Mouse in the top lane. Looks to be quite exciting. You mentioned Xiao Ao. He really can be a bit of a tilty top laner, but Mouse just absorbs everything that's thrown at him. Could this be an avenue that Suning try to utilize to break open Rogue Warriors and get themselves back ahead for the playoff race?
Certainly could happen, and that's the interesting thing about Suning and Rogue Warriors. We're seeing Rogue Warriors being this really steady team. They found their footing. They know how they can win. They're on a 15-game win streak so far. But on the other hand, Suning Gaming, they're no slouches themselves. They actually have the highest GD at 15 minutes over any LPL team. That's higher than IG, higher than Snake for sure. And the thing that I really like about Suning is how clean their early game is. A lot of it is about tempo, rotations from the bot lane, how good their individual pieces are. The big problem, and we do have to mention this, is how much they throw as well.
Yeah.
We've seen in the LGD game that basically you have 3 people on the team that are very prone to throwing, and those are Hacker, Knight, and Xiao, like we just mentioned. So this game, a lot of it is about Suning keeping their early leads and keeping composure.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see if they can actually do that, though, because they're up against Rogue Warriors, who are also a bit of an emotional team. Of course, that being said, though, this is a game that they have to win. Yes. Suning, like we said, they're 8-7. Jingdong are right behind them at 7-8, and Jingdong are playing TOP of all teams, who have barely any wins in the LPL. It is expected that TOP will drop and Jingdong will be able to catch up here. Here you can see the recent results for Suning going 3-2 in their last 5 games. they've got to clinch this final playoff spot because RNG are still just ahead of them. And then you've got IG and Rogue Warriors who are already out of reach.
Yeah, today really is about the precursor to the e-commerce wars. So you can see the Suning results right here. The same theme has been going on. They've been winning a lot of these early games, but then losing it later. And the big thing for me is that they don't recover from losses very well. So we've seen both in the W Series and the LGD Series where they bring a very strong game 1, and then they win game 2, tilt, lose game 2, and then get smashed in game 3. This has been a pattern for them, so it really is about averting what they do poorly for them, and a lot of it is about like keeping their cool. So Xiao El, the way they lost their game was actually Xiao El just jumped into a Baron Pit 1v5 with no apparent reason. So, you know, pull back on that, let your early game play out, and let that bot lane really happen. That's going to be the big showdown today between SMLZ and Fury and Yoon.
And of course, that being said, that's one of the reasons why this team has garnered so many fans and actually succeeded so much, is because they are so decisive in making some of these calls. I believe it was Suning that committed the 5-man flash into a Baron Pit, into a fight that they inevitably lost when they played against Snake, but still, this is a team that is willing to go in, that is willing to try to take the trade. But they're up against Rogue Warriors. They're up against SMLZ, the Sniper, the second best team in the league right now. Very well could be the best team in the league after we find out the results against IG later this week.
It's a really fun thing to note, but Suning basically said today that Xiao El was going to go down to visit SMLZ every 3 minutes. So already sent out a postcard and a warning to them. For Rogue Warriors, we have Mouse Flawless, Joinby, SMLZ, and Killua. Basically the same starting lineup that they've been running the entire split.
And this is a team of misfits that seems to have finally found their potential together. Suning on the other side, Xiao El, Hacker, Knight, Fury, and Yoon.
The big one, and the reason that Suning were able to take a game away from Rogue Warriors the last time they faced each other was Knight in the mid lane. And that's a very interesting point because they have very differing styles of champion pool. You have Echo and Corki on one side, and then you have the Karma and Lulu on the other. Now what Knight was able to do so well was he got big on the Corki and was able to split push against Rogue Warriors, where I don't think Rogue Warriors really has an answer to the split push type of game style.
We'll have to see if they can find one. I want to go back to what you said about Xiao El visiting SMLZ down in the bottom lane, because pretty much anything that involves SMLZ down there is exciting to watch. But that being said, Suning, they've got to show us something here because Rogue Warriors are looking nigh unstoppable. Do you think they've got what it takes?
Well, no, not really. But
quick and easy.
But they could win off an early game run. That's what I'm looking for off of Suning. This is not a game that has the macro to go late against Rogue Warriors.
Well, this is a team that could very well take it. That said, it's now time for our casters to get us into game 1.
Thanks, guys. Hello, I'm Matthew Stewart. Joining me is Indiana Frosco and Black. We're about to get into game number 1 of Rogue Warriors taking on Suning Gaming. It's an important match for these two teams. Rogue Warriors want to try and stay as ahead as possible, so when they do go up against Invictus Gaming, they can try and clinch that first seed, whereas Suning fighting to stay in playoffs.
Yeah, just to be frank, yes, there are very different expectations for both these teams. Rogue Warriors, probably the last contenders for Invictus Gaming, do need to show a strong front if they want to make Invictus Gaming respect them for a possible finals rematch. But otherwise, Suning Gaming, the heat is on. They're not really known for their upsets. They beat Rogue Warriors the last time around, but they need to make it count here because JD, logic tells us that they should have a free win today.
Oh, let's see what's going to happen in the first pick and ban phase between the two teams. Already, first pick for Rogue Warriors is going to be Olaf. They take away Camille, Zaya, and Cassiopeia as their 3 bans. Suning respond with not only Swain, but Tom Kench as well. Rise, Cogmore, and Karma with their 3 bans.
I expected actually, frankly, a Tom Kench ban to come out, but I like the fact that Suning were able to secure that for red side, as well as the red side Swain flex pick, so hopefully isolating a lot of those solo lanes. I don't know if it was enough to give away the Olaf, though. We saw Ning absolutely wreck Royal Never Give Up yesterday on this champion. For some reason, it just keeps slipping through ban phases, and teams really keep paying the price for it.
And now Flawless gets his hand on the champion as well. He's one of the best junglers we have in the LPL. Good denial of the Tom Kench away from Killua. He uses it quite effectively to protect SMLZ. and Rogue Warriors often default to protecting their AD carry in most of their matchups. Final pick for Rogue Warriors before moving into the second ban phase is going to be Braum in the bottom lane.
See, this is why I would have preferred a takeaway of Tahm Kench in a ban phase as opposed to denial pick away, simply because that means that you still give access to the Braum and you still have the potential to run a kill lane. And Braum and Olaf are so good at repeatedly ganking bottom, and that's what Rogue Warriors have shown to be their true identity and style. They remind me very much of the Season 3 Starhorn Royal Club, the Raise the Uzi. But it's not Uzi this time around, it is SMLZ, but he's showing that he's just as capable.
He's had a dominant split so far. Sinning responded to the Braum pick by picking up Echo, one of the few teams that do play the champion.
We definitely heard Clement mention Echo for Knight on the broadcast, and I do agree with Clement that I think one way to unravel Rogue Warriors is to contest them in those side lanes, attempt to set up a 1-3-1 type of composition, because Rogue Warriors are all about their ADC. They really are a big 5v5 team comp. That means that Suning Gaming shouldn't look to go late game with this team. They need to hit them hard and fast, heavy skirmishes, early game control, lane priorities.
Split apart the map, make it so that Mouse and Doinby have to respond to any form of split pushing coming out from Suning. Deny them the opportunity to protect their AD carry. First two bans that come out from Suning here are going to be Kassadin as well as Vladimir. Two target bans towards... two bans are going towards the mid lane. Vladimir flexing with Mouse on the top side of the map.
Yeah, but it was Doinby who last played the Vladimir for Rogue Warriors. He does have a very unique champion pool, but that is already 4 bans at Doinby specifically, 5 bans on the mid lane if you take into account the Cassiopeia. But Rise, Karma, Vladimir, Kassadin, and Cassiopeia all gone with an Echo priority. They're trying to really squeeze Doinby here.
Seems like Suning are thinking that the Sion is going to head into the top lane for Mouse up against Xiao Ao Swain.
And
Not going to be in
Sion
the mid lane for Doinby.
would fit perfectly for Doinby. He loves to play these really unconventional tanky champions. Sion has just been an absolute terror globally in both the top and mid lane position. Fits well in Doinby's wheelhouse, and I agree with you. I feel like that Sion is going mid.
Well, as Rogue Warriors, they targeted the jungle pool with their final 2 bans. Kha'Zix and Jarvan taken away, which means Suning get priority on their first pick, picking up Varus as their AD carry for Fury.
Yeah, still trying to really compete, knowing that SMLZ was probably going to be pinched towards the Caitlyn. Varus has a decent matchup into Caitlyn once he's level 3. He's just going to out-trade her by flinging spells, whereas Caitlyn really needs to commit to more auto attacks if she wants to make those trades go even.
Varus has a decently high range as well, sitting at 575k in contest to Caitlyn's massive range of 650. Rogue Warriors now with their final pick. Well, they'll have to show if it is going to be a Sion in the mid lane or heading towards the top side of the map.
I actually really like Ornn here versus the Gnar. The Gnar is going to give him a better individual 1v1 matchup, but the Ornn puts so much pressure on Fury. And if you're really targeting where Suning's carries truly are, it is in Fury when it comes to that 5v5. Again, Rogue Warriors' identity is a 5v5 oriented team. The Ornn ultimate, and with no Braum to deny it, makes Varus very scary in a backline.
And once again, the carries for the team are going to be flawless in SMLZ. You've got 3 beefy tanks protecting SMLZ, and a jungler who has been known to pick up solo kill after solo kill. Hacker defaults to Sejuani as his jungle pick of choice. We haven't seen Sejuani's fare too well against Olafs in the jungle.
If by farewell you mean get absolutely blasted, then yes, we've definitely seen that one.
We're going to have to see what's going to be taking place in the early stages of this match between Suning as well as Rogue Warriors. Again, very two different playstyles for the team. Suning, they want to split push, go into a 1-4 or a 1-3-1. Rogue Warriors, it's all about grouping up for those late game or mid game team fights. They've drafted exactly as the two teams would have wanted to.
But even if Rogue Warriors don't want to head towards the 5v5, the other trick is that because they have a Sion and an Ornn, they're also going to have push priority in their lanes, in mid and the top lane. And when you give Olaf the ability to have push priority, he'll just walk into the jungle and he'll be an absolute terror looking for those duels. That also is exactly how Flawless wants to play. He's not a tracker jungler, he's a hunter. He wants to find you, duel you, kill you, and that's how he sets up his tempo advantage.
So what does Suning have to do to stop that? Because you know Ornn's going to push, you know Sion's going to push as well. How do they protect Hacker? Because it's time and time again, Olaf's raining terror onto Sejuani's in the jungle.
The most important ward is going to be on an early blue raptor camp. They need to track that high traffic area and then hopefully just survive, use their vision, maneuver around, and then once they have level 6, that's when the map will start opening for Suning. Try to use the Tahm Kench, try to use the Sejuani, and create these skirmishes so they can get that tempo advantage going in the early game.
So let's see if Suning can successfully defend their jungler, because as we've mentioned, Olaf has been a contested pick, not only in 8.5, but previously in 8.4 as well. And now we're seeing junglers showcase their power on the champion, dominating tank junglers like Sejuani. Hacker's picked it up as a final pick for Suning, and that's probably going to be where the focus of the early game is going to be between these two teams. Other than that, it's a contrast of playstyles once again. Team fight against split push.
lot was denied from Suning Gaming. Like we said, this match really matters. If they can find a miracle win here, they'll hold on to their 4th place spot.
Let's see what they can do. Let's get on to the Rift for game number 1. Rogue Warriors taking on Suning. I think they're still asleep.
Maybe they took the day off?
Where I can see them from here. I can see the fan clubs for us. There we go.
Good guys fan clubs.
Look.
They knew there was going to be a pause, Fish. They were just, you
Look,
know,
come
giving
on.
us some time.
Look, it's 5:25 here in Shanghai. You need to be awake, ready, and on time. All the casters are good to go. The players are in their seats. There's a pause though, so we'll have to figure out what's going on. But that's not okay.
Some people have work, Fish. It is a Monday after all. That said, it does give us a bit more time to kind of really deep dive on some of these compositions and these champion picks. Particularly, I want to kind of start with the Swain. You know, Ornn into Swain, I'm not 100% on who's going to win that pushing matchup. I originally give it to Ornn because he has push priority on most champions. But the thing about Swain on the 8.5 changes is that he got lane control back. And the reason being is because of how his Q is now working. He's also very good at running with a phase rush keystone. We'll see if he's actually running that keystone in this game. He's able to refund the mana on the Q. With the lower cooldown, he can use that much more often. And he actually has lane control, which is something that old Swain didn't have unless he was in his ultimate. So we'll actually see how that dynamic plays out. Xiao Al is incredibly volatile, very swinging, high highs, very low lows in the top side of the lane. And if they are going to try to exploit a pound for pound talent matchup in this matchup, it should be Xiao Al versus Mouse.
And Mouse is the player that's not really talked about for the side of Rogue Warriors, because we always look at SMLZ, Doinby, and Flawless. These are the 3 main characters that stand out. Then you look at the support for SMLZ of Killua, who is a rookie, recently joining Rogue Warriors, but he's had a tremendous split so far, supporting and matching SMLZ's style quite nicely. Whereas Mouse, he's always just been that top laner.
To be fair, Mouse got a really bad reputation. Unfortunately, went to Worlds, had some emotional and personal issues going on behind, and got absolutely smashed. I think most Western fans will grab hold of the INTZ blunder of Mouse, where Revolta just absolutely dominated him from the jungle up in that top lane, and he's never really lived down that reputation. But the Chinese audience has already started to turn back in Mouse's favor. Yeah. He has a bit of a coy nickname. Brother Light up there, which is effectively remembering that Mouse was on hard times, but he is now in good graces. But frankly, for me, Mouse shouldn't be remembered for his lows. He's been far more consistent for the majority of his domestic career, and now people are really just sleeping on Mouse. He's actually quite a threat.
Which is what comes to my mind when I watch Mouse at the moment. He's consistent, he is stable, and he's a very solid top laner. Previously known to only play tanks, he's shown that he can pick up carries when Rogue Warriors need him to as well, and he's had a decent split so far.
But see, it's even that identity right there. You're remembering of Mouse as a tank player, role player. Mouse was actually a Fizz one trick when he first came into the LPL. His identity was actually a carry-oriented top laner, undefeated on his Aurelia domestically before he brought it internationally and had that terrible Worlds one-off.
Yeah, classic EDG, bring in a top laner who's known for a carry, put them on tanks for 2 seasons.
Do we call that the TSM syndrome at this point?
Ooh, poor Dyrus. Some say he's still crying after that Shox interview.
I was actually just talking about the Mike Young Ward bot junglers.
Ooh.
Did go off in the first game, though.
Yep. I saw Rusty's tweet about it last night. I too went to bed and woke up and started laughing at Rusty's tweet afterwards.
You watch game 1, you go to bed, and then you wake up and you're like, oh no, what happened?
But coming back into this matchup, Suning were having some technical difficulties going onto the Rift for game number 1. Seems like most of them have been resolved, and we should be getting back onto Summoner's Rift for this first match in just a moment. But again, these 2 teams, we've already talked about the matchup, but it's 2 different playstyles once again. Rogue Warriors are going to be looking to protect our SMLZ and team fight. Suning are going to look to try and split push and go into a 1-3-1 or a 1-4. So it's going to be curious to see which team gets the upper hand in terms of their strategy.
But the thing is we're saying this as if Suning's going to be able to keep up with Rogue Warriors. And I do agree with Clement. Sunings are the very heavy underdogs here. I actually expect that despite the fact that these playstyles are very different and they should have higher highs at different points, different power spikes over the course of the match, that Rogue Warriors should frankly still run away with this, especially given power picks like the Olaf and Sion. You just cover up the enemy draft, you're like, how the hell did they get Sion and Olaf on 8.5?
That's the pick they've gotten in here. Rogue Warriors as well sitting. Neither jungler starts at the bottom side of the map, so we do see both of them get lane priority, but Rogue Warriors do get the extra poke to start things off.
And something that is nice about Olaf is that he isn't a traditional red start jungler. He likes to start the blue buff, and he doesn't necessarily need a leash. Lower health, more damage, and he also is very blue dependent, so he can continually pick up these axes and throw them. And by doing so, it means that SMLZ and Kahlua get priority on the bottom lane.
And this is going to be the match that we're going to look up for a while. Flawless against Hacker. You mentioned that the blue ward on Raptor Camp was going to be important. That was placed down by Rogue Warriors. They have spotted out Hacker, starting at red buff. Not at blue as you'd expect from Sejuani, now moving towards the bottom side of his jungle.
Again, both of these teams recognize that SMLZ is the gate to victory for Rogue Warriors, and so it makes sense that Fury and Yoon would also like to get a head start down in the bottom lane, not sacrifice anything, and try to make the most of this Varus into Caitlyn pick. The problem is Tahm Kench to Braum.
Tahm Kench to Braum there. You will be able to get locked down. Provides a lot of crowd control. SMLZ is also pushing in against Suning's bottom lane, which is the opposite of what's happening in the mid lane here. Doinby has been pushed in quite nicely by Knight to start this match.
Yeah, but this matchup can only get more volatile. Now, Echo does do better into the lane phase. It is very hard to trade with him, but you just have to account for the poke. How many of those kicks are going to connect onto Echo and slowly start bleeding him out, whereas Echo has to really commit to make his trades work.
Knight also went for minion dematerializer, so that will help him out with his laning phase quite a bit. Wards were placed down by Rogue Warriors as they continue to push further in the bottom lane.
Yeah, you can already see a huge safety net set up on the top side of the map, although that will be scouted out by Blue Orb now from Hacker. Quickly looking up at the top side, though, Mouse running a traditional unsealed spellbook on his Ornn there, so wants more access to these summoner spells. Again, it's about the 5v5. He'll have a shorter cooldown there for the teleport. Right now starting Ignite, dissuading any sort of dive potential. Very scary to dive in Ornn. Swain does have a big wave built up when he has all that CC as well as the Ignite. Also means that he'll have kill pressure if Olaf wants to visit up there.
We'll have to keep track of that top lane matchup because Swain is pushing in, as you mentioned. Mouse going towards Ornn, who used to have a lot of lane priority, had a couple of nerfs after starting the 2018 split and has not been seen as much. But it's really going to be all about this bottom lane for now, because SMLZ is the carry that we look out for Rogue Warriors, and Suning's bottom lane is not well known for being a very strong bot lane duo.
Actually, I'm going to revamp on that a little bit. I actually think Fury and Yoon punch above their weight, and they've kind of been underneath the radar slightly. Fury and Yoon actually find a lot of surprise 2v2 kills, which is why it's very important that they got to the lane phase first, because they do want to try to set themselves up for success. But again, because they're Suning, they're not normally hailed as a strong contender.
Flash for Flash top side. Mavis Flawless comes in for a gank with Predator, but Hacker is here for a counter gank, forcing Olaf to flash away. Mouse already used his to go for the initiation, but is able to charge through. Hacker flashing forward, getting the extra damage from the Frozen. Mouse is in trouble. Xiao's trying to chase down, but Hacker is the one with the counter gank, picking up first blood.
Mouse commits to Flawless, and they lose track of Hacker. Great counter gank from Suning to trade in their advantage. However, the gold stays on Hacker in the jungle, doesn't stay on Swain on the top side.
Which is really nice to see from Hacker, because this is the matchup where Flawless should be dominant here. He's able to move in tandem with Flawless in this matchup. Make sure he's there for the counter gank.
And the thing is he doesn't have access to gank his bottom lane because SMLZ and Kahlua are constantly pushed forward, really punishing Fury and Yoon. And I kind of disagree with this because Olaf is so good at ganking the bottom lane, especially in tandem with a champion like Braum, but so many times we see the Olaf picked up, and it's almost perma-sitting topside. Now, last time Invictus Gaming did it with Ning and the Shy, it actually also was an Olaf and Ornn matchup.
This time around goes in favor of Suning. Lots of summoner spells were blown as well. When taking a look at that mid lane matchup, Doinby up against Knight. Knight has played 4 games of Echo. Every single one was a win for Suning. Whereas Doinby, we know, as soon as Olaf was put into the mid lane for the first time, we knew that was going to be a Doinby champion, and it is once again.
Now, Knight has made his reputation more of an assassin. He started out a little bit cold, in my opinion, but he's definitely been warming up as it starts to get hotter in Shanghai here and spring turns around. He's now actually starting to be a contender for Rookie of the Split. We've had his name bounce around the office a couple of times. I'm not ready to commit on it just yet, but he does have the chance to really solidify his race for the title if he can manage to control Doinby here.
Something to look out for is his assassin playstyle may have changed in terms of his picks, but he still has the highest solo kills in the mid lane at the moment. 11 being picked up by Knight.
And again, he opens up the ability for Suning to play a side lane, to play a 1-3-1, which is a style that you can abuse against Rogue Warriors because they never play it. On this composition, it's not going to change.
But we're still in the early phases of the match, so we can't see any split pushing. It's still laning phase between the two teams. No big team fights, which means those two strategies haven't taken effect. So I'm really curious to see what we're going to look towards until we hit that point of the match.
For now, it's going to be a battle over vision. We need to make sure that we're clearing these pathways. You can actually see Flawless on one of them right now as he's placing deep vision. This needs to be opened up so he has access to commit to these ganks. And it looks like it is going to be a top camp.
Doinby as well as Flawless blast cone over towards top side of the map. Xiao Ao is going to be ganked here. Mouse throws out the Onhon, gets the knock up as well as Brittle. Doinby's the first to the fight. Ultimate is used by Swain, trying to sustain and live through this gank. Flawless now charges in. We'll be able to get some extra damage down. Hacker is there a little bit too late. And there's already 3 members of Rogue Warriors on the top side of the map. They get a pick in the top lane.
And this time, Knight's not there to rotate. Hacker's not there to counter gank. So works out. Mouse gets his redemption. Like I said, it's not his fault. Last time he committed on the play that Flawless set up without the necessary information. This time they have all the information, all the pieces set up, even bring Doinby, and it's much more successful.
And as you said, it was all about that vision control. They had a pink ward placed at the ramp, were able to rotate up to the blast cone, get over without any of the vision that was placed down by Suning detecting them.
It's also a very clear game plan from Rogue Warriors. They've decided that SMLZ and Kahlua, they're just going to let them push and set up the safety net. They've spent most of this game underneath Fury and Yoon's tower, chipping away. Now is probably the first time that the lane's actually been neutralized. We'll see what Suning do with that. But it's been punishing the Swain being overextended into the Ornn, trying to chip him away underneath tower and leaving him exposed for these long ganks.
That's kind of how Rogue Warriors have always played towards SMLZ. Either they funnel every bit of resource into him or make sure the top side of the map is doing well enough that SMLZ doesn't have to be that far ahead to carry the game later on.
It's also the fact that you don't need to camp him. He's just going to win his lane or at least neutralize it. He is on a Caitlyn, so you're looking at a 3-item power spike anyway. Just let him have an extended lane phase.
Varus will be able to pick up the Guinsoo's Rage Blade a little bit earlier, so we'll have to see what Suning can do with that pick. For now, Hacker as well as Knight trying to collapse on top of Doinby, locking him down with crowd control, chasing him forward. Doinby forced a flash over towards red buff. Nobody's there just yet. Varus ultimate's not going to connect. Yoon flashing forward. Is Doinby out alive? He should have escaped through this one. Suning is still trying to chase down. Knight goes underneath the turret, flashing forward. Flawless is here as well. Ragnarok does not get used there. Doinby is still trying to chase away with his passive, but Suning finally get the pick onto Doinby.
Yeah, and they committed a lot to get that pick, so thank God that Knight was able to secure it and utilize his ultimate to hop back out of tower range, because pulling your bot lane like that, trying to contest for the red, if they hadn't gotten that pick, it would have meant and cost so much.
However, Hacker wants a fight. Hacker's going to get taken down very low. Flawless flashes forward. He gets a kill there. Knight's now the one that's trouble. SMLZ as well as Kahlua have rotated towards top side of the map. Flash over coming out from Kahlua. Ultimate comes out from SMLZ using his heal. Not enough range to protect Flawless, but Kahlua gets the kill.
I'm going to say that that was greedy on SMLZ's part, but hold on, top side.
Onhon comes out from Mouse, just looks like he wants to deter Xiao Ao from going for a dive underneath this turret.
But you can actually see Doinby. He's teleported back to mid lane and he's walking up through river.
Does not have his ultimate available, so will not be able to charge into that top lane fight.
Yeah, back to that team fight. SMLZ, super greedy. Didn't want to burn his summoner spells and go over the wall like Kahlua did. That's kind of the difference of committal. Braum flashes the wall, needs to set up his team. That makes sense. But SMLZ, by charging his ultimate instead of just repositioning and getting more auto attacks off in the duration of the ultimate charge, cost Flawless his life.
Could have been a little bit more aggressive as well. Had his flash available, we know SMLZ likes to flash forward. They could have done
this
just that
isn't
too.
a could-have situation, bitch. This was a Flawless paid the price for your sins.
Does not get his red buff, does not get an extra kill, but is sitting on a BF sword as well as a Zeal. Speaking of which, Fury is sitting on a BF sword as well, not going towards Guinsoo's Rage Blade on Varus.
He's also has his Ninja Tabi, so he's going to be a lot better in the lane. Again, Caitlyn, when she wants to try to out-trade Varus here, she has to really commit with a bunch of auto attacks. So Fury and Yoon could try to swing how this matchup is going to go and request their jungler to come down and really start to punish here.
And one of the players that is really well known for going away from the attack speed on hit builds is SMLZ. But Fury's done it here. Kind of makes sense when you look at the top side of the map. Everyone from Suning is dealing magic damage.
And that's exactly it. Papa Smithy has also covered this in the LCK. We're starting to see it bleed over. It's the fact that there's triple AP on the top side.
Oh, but they've caught out Doinby. He's going to get locked down. Stunners to come through, actually using his ultimate to get the knock up and disengage. Flawless now coming for the counter gank. Ragnarok, let's go. Brolov chasing them down. Good damage from Suning. Fury and Yoon are going to collapse into the mid lane as well. This gives SMLZ and Kahlua time to push through bottom lane.
And it's good communication from Rogue Warriors, though, cross-map, as well as all of that neutral vision in the river to catch that Tom Kench was going to make a rotation there. So they don't overcommit to chase for that brawl off. He immediately just pumps the brakes and turns it around.
Starting off in this match, both supports, we saw them pick up the Unsealed Spellbook. At the early stages of Split 1, we saw it used to pick up the likes of Teleport or start with Ignite nice and early. Now a lot of supports are defaulting back towards Cleanse, which is an interesting summoner spell for me to see picked up by supports.
Well, there is, again, so much kill pressure running around in the jungle, especially when Olaf is viable. It's not necessarily the hard CC from Olaf, it's because the supports that we're seeing, like the Brahms, have that hard CC. You need to be able to get out of it.
Kahlua actually trying to be a little bit aggressive in this bottom lane as well, but Suning are perfectly fine. They're just going to protect their carry and try and keep the wave off the turret. SMLZ has not had enough access to the mid lane out of turret to get chip damage onto it just yet.
But the big key power spike that we were looking for Suning was going to be that level 6, utilizing the Echo and Sejuani ultimates, and frankly, they really haven't made a dent here. We're completely tied on kills, completely tied on gold, and Suning will not win late against Rogue Warriors, even if they had a different composition. They're just not good enough.
Is it even if they do execute their strategy well, which is to split apart the map, making sure Rogue Warriors can't actually force those team fights?
I mean, if they are competing against Infernal Drakes, though, as well as an Ornn's ability to start fights, it's much harder to do.
It certainly is, but they're looking to try and pick off Doinby while Flawless is currently taking Infernal Dragon. Knight does not get that stun, but the rest of Suning have rotated to stop him from getting the objective.
Yeah, and Knight and Hacker do have inside track here, so easily dissuade Rogue Warriors, but you can already tell exactly what they want to start setting up. So the next few minutes of this game are going to be about creeping that vision line forward. That means that we need to get timed backs from Doinby, Flawless, SMLZ, and Kahlua, and start moving together, getting their lane priority in mid and bottom, and inching vision through that river.
The good news for Suning is Xiao Ao does have priority on the top side of the map. He's pushed in Mouse. Mouse is fairly low, no teleport available for either top laner. And this is just getting better and better for Xiao Ao.
It's not doing a ton of damage to that tower, though. We're going to see if Suning decide to overcommit topside. If they do, that's going to be the very clear trigger for Rogue Warriors to pull on the Infernal Drake. There is a window here, though, as they're trying to pass blue, and that's what Suning are trying to capitalize on.
The Knight gets some good damage onto Flawless, still chasing him down. Smite onto blue buff to keep himself alive a little bit longer. Means Hacker can steal blue away. Suning settle for taking the objective and disengage.
But they've already forced off the jungle. I think Suning should commit top and look for the dive here. They know that Flawless isn't going to come to help Mouse, and they have an opportunity to really put damage on this tower.
Meanwhile, bottom side of the map, you can see Fury and Yoon just trying to desperately push SMLZ and Kahlua away, who have lane priority at the moment. No dive coming out from Suning.
Yep, deciding not to commit too many resources because they might have figured that it would take too long to kill Ornn. Still denying him a lot of CS, 93 to 116, so they're still gaining something. It's just the question of, is it enough for Suning to create a big enough lead and run away with the game?
Teleport even being used by Doinby to get back into the mid lane, so prioritizing his lane advantage instead of holding onto the summoner spell for a cross-map play.
Doinby's much more about always having priority in the mid lane. Even before he was really recognized as a strong mid laner, it was kind of his unique use of summoner spells and ultimates, itemization builds, to always have the advantage in mid lane.
So far he's picked up an adaptive helm to go up against Knight's Proto Belt here. But Flawless is once again blast coned over the wall. He's going to try and take Infernal Dragon. No one from Suning has responded just yet. Hacker and Knight are making their way to the pit, but Flawless picks it up too fast.
Double Infernal, though, next. That is going to spawn around 20 minutes and 55 seconds. So, again, we look at itemization. Because Varus is also going for the crit build, because it is triple AP on the top side of his map, it means that both Caitlyn and Varus can have very similar power spikes.
Yeah, Flawless and Hacker going for a duel. Knight's actually able to beat him to the punch, and Flawless is going to get taken down. Hacker just does too much damage. The burst from Echo helps him out.
And this 2v2 jungle mid from Suning is absolutely destroying Flawless right now. He's been a little bit quick to the punch in terms of getting a hold of these monster objectives, but it feels like every time we're looking at Flawless, he's being forced out of his jungle.
And since we've moved on to patch 8.4, that's 8.5, sorry, that's kind of all we've talked about. The jungle and mid lane synergy, Suning have been executing it incredibly well.
There is no teleport on Doinby, so Mouse is left to the Wolves. Doinby is choosing to commit bottom, while Suning are all in top side.
Rogue Warriors looking for a fight in the bottom lane. Meanwhile, top side of map, Mouse is in a lot of trouble. Knight's going to go for the dive there. Mouse gets taken down nice and easy. Perfect execution from Suning. Teleports in the bottom lane to try and protect the AD carry and support. Fury is taking some damage. Yun is very low, but that teleport's going to stop the dive coming out from Rogue Warriors.
And you're now back into Rookie of the Split Knight. That was a great play from him. He's often done this multiple lanes that he's pressured with his teleport, is able to get the kill top. Mouse was just trying to kill the creep wave to save his tower. You can now see Flawless. It's his turn to clock in and try to keep that one up.
He doesn't have Ragnarok. They have enough crowd control to lock him down once again. Hacker tanks the turret for Xiao, who picks up another kill. That could be first turret to Suning.
And again, you understand Flawless's logic there. They're literally taking turns to try to deny the first tower being sieged, but it's not enough. It's a bad read on the situation, and it punishes them heavily. Missed teleport, dead Mouse, dead Flawless, and a gold swing for Suning.
He even uses teleport at the end of that fight, as you mentioned. He was that first side that came out from Suning. They just kill him too quickly.
And again, Mouse's only goal right here is just to delay them and to kill the creep wave. He doesn't want to die. To die and have the creep wave on the tower to make it that much easier for them. Because look at the bot lane. That's what SMLZ and Kluo were trying to force. It wasn't about the counter dive, it was about forcing the first tower.
And bringing it back to the early game, we said the focus is going to be on can Flawless shut down Hacker, because Hacker is on Sejuani. We expected On as well as Doinby to have the pushing priority in their lanes. Xiao turned that around. He had the priority top side of the map. Hacker was not shut down, and now it's opened up the map for Suning.
To be fair, I hadn't seen the Ornn-Swain matchup. I was curious if the adjustments to Swain would give him the pushing priority. It definitely did. We talked about the cooldown adjustments to his Q cooldown, and how he has much more priority and control over the wave, and he just absolutely dominated Ornn there.
So it seems like Mouse's pick is purely meant to be for these late game fights. And just like Kunman was talking about, Xiao has been able to bully him, yes, because of the champion pick and the matchup that he has is in his advantage, but he's playing it well.
And it's also the fact that Hacker has been really responsive tonight. He's forced Doinby to use his teleport defensively to just get back into lane, get back to catch CS twice, which means that Doinby isn't having the same side lane impact that we normally see from him.
There's a team fight in the bottom lane though. Flawless is trying to collapse on top of Fury, but he gets eaten up by Fury, put back to safety. He forces his flash as well as heal. Great help from you, keeps him alive. Flawless is going to be the first casualty. Xiao gets the kill, trying to get deep into the back lines as they lock down Doinby as well. Pulled back by Swain. Doinby's in trouble, pops into his passive. Xiao still trying to dive into the back lines, but Knight beats him to the punch. Rogue Warriors are collapsing in the bottom lane. SMLZ goes down. Knight gets another kill. Mouse is in trouble as well. Hacker even survives the fight. Suning wiped the floor with Rogue Warriors.
And it was a gorgeous read from Suning across the board. Now, the reason why they pulled the trigger here is because they understand that they have the lead and that their champions are strong now. Look at SMLZ's build. He's not going to be doing any damage right now. He's there to clear waves. And so if Rogue Warriors collapse back, try to play the front to back 5v5, they don't have the damage to cut through Suning and compete with the backline threat.
And from start to finish, this is not looking good for Rogue Warriors as well. This is meant to be a matchup that was incredibly Rogue Warriors dominated.
We take another look at this, and SMLZ gets completely zoned out of this fight. He spends so long respecting the TP on the cannon creep here. See, he's not doing any damage. Places the trap, is waiting for Swain to come in, and Swain gets immediate access into the backline. Again, 8.5 Swain, pretty much every single ability got buffed up. He zones everyone away. Immediately a member of Rogue Warriors is dead, and they're playing from the back foot with no damage. There was no way they got out of this situation well. The only adjustment that I would say for Rogue Warriors, don't play this. As soon as you see that, disengage.
And it sums up the two team compositions quite nicely as well. Suning have a lot of damage top side of the map. You've got a Swain. You have an AP Echo as well as a Varus. It comes online nice and early. Whereas Rogue Warriors, you've got two tanks, one in the top lane, one in the mid lane. You're relying on Flawless and SMLZ to deal damage.
But this is not a Rogue Warriors that Invictus Gaming would ever be afraid of. They've had 3 terrible calls on the map. That one in the bottom, the teleport back into the top lane play, and then the contest in the jungle from Flawless early on. And it has bit them in the ass very hard. Suning now sitting with a 6K gold lead.
Top of that, we talked about how SMLZ needs those 3 items. That's where Caitlyn really starts to spike in the late game. She's still in that mid-game power trough. Whereas for the side of Fury, already has his Infinity Edge, already has the Static Shift complete as well.
but now you can already see that Suning, they feel that they've got the core itemization that they need. They have kill pressure or push pressure into these side lanes, and they're starting to split up the map, looking for the 1-4, and their dive threat is also incredibly strong. So mid tower is going to break very early.
Ultimate gets thrown out by Fury, locks down the support. Killua is in trouble, tries to jump back to SMLZ on, looking for a fight. Not going to connect with the second part of the horn as Suning still trying to disengage and kite back away from Rogue Warriors. They get a decent amount of damage onto Doinby as well as Killua. They take down the mid lane outer turret.
They just don't have the gold to compete at this point in the game. And this is what I was talking about earlier. You know, there was a question that since Varus was going for the crit build due to the triple AP on his comp, that if Suning would be in a position to look and contest for an Infernal, because you wouldn't have the 2-item mid-game power spike Varus. But with Swain and Echo being as strong as they are, it doesn't matter. So triple Infernal, second one or third one is going to be at 26 minutes. And now it's all evened up across the board. Great read from Suning to understand exactly when they're strong and to execute on it.
What is not even, however, is the fact that Suning are incredibly far ahead of Rogue Warriors. 21 minutes into the match, 6,500 gold in favor of Suning.
But they still need to close, Fish. And as Clement said on the analyst desk, and I'm going to say here, that has been Suning's greatest weakness, their inability to close. They just don't have the veteranship on the roster. Fury and Yoon, the most experienced members on the team, formerly of the LCK, you're still dealing with communication barriers, language barriers, things like that, and they just can't quite coordinate the team to be as consistent as Suning need to be, which is why they're in that fight for fourth.
So what is their next step to actually close out this game? Because they are far ahead of Rogue Warriors. They have the split pushing team comp. They've parked Knight in the bottom lane, Showers top side of the map. They're sending the other 3 members towards the middle lanes. Baron's up and available, 22 minutes. Next Dragon will be in about 4 to 5 minutes. How do Suning close out this game against Rogue Warriors?
I mean, you already said it, Fish. It is the Baron play. 8.5, we understand the strength that Baron has.
They're going for a fight mid lane instead. They lock down SMLZ. He heals and 90 caliber nets away, forces a ultimate out of Knight, and a teleport from Rogue Warriors into the mid lane, cancelled.
No, these mid lane plays are the Baron play. Again, because the mid lane tower fell, it's that much easier for Suning to blitz into the blue side jungle of Rogue Warriors, place down that triangle vision, and then to look for plays like that. They have so much reach and threat into a backline that it's very scary for SMLZ to be anywhere on the map and to pick up the appropriate farm so Caitlyn can be a threat.
Might not look like much, but they burnt 2 summoner spells out of Rogue Warriors during that mid lane engage. Teleport being burnt by Doinby, as well as a heal being burnt by SMLZ.
Does mean that the lane assignments need to change it for Rogue Warriors though, since Doinby doesn't have his TP, although it is coming off of cooldown quite quickly, but Mouse has his.
Did cancel that teleport, so he got a lot of the cooldown refunded.
But that means that there's a window that Suning could try to punish this. They see that Doinby is bottom, and immediately you see them rotating, placing down vision, trying to threaten Rogue Warriors, saying that you think you have time for Doinby's TP to come back up, but you don't.
Doinby does have his ultimate available, so he can cross a large amount of distance quite quickly. Question is, can Suning get anything before that happens?
They're being really indecisive. Suning know what the right play is. They want to push this Baron, they want to punish that teleport, but they're just not brave enough to do it.
So what do they need to do? Put the 2 side laners in a side lane, push to the turrets, and then force the Baron?
I mean, that would be the easiest way to do it, continue to punish with Echo for how strong he is right now, but it's indecisiveness. You know, they go in, they clear out, they get control of the Baron vision, they pretend that they're going to be punishing the Scion, but they just don't pull the trigger.
Well, they are trying to put Knight in the bottom lane now. It does have Lichbane, so towers get taken out very fast by this Echo, forcing Doinby to respond, moving him down into the bottom lane. In fact, he might not be there in time. Knight might just take down this turret.
Needs to respect.
And he does. Doinby does finally make his way down there. His teleport's still on cooldown. This could be the time for Suning to make a play.
Knight's just going to force the tower down.
Well, he gave him some respect to start and immediately said no.
They've started the Baron.
Doinby can try and stick to Knight, stop him from teleporting. Let's see if that's going to be enough. Rogue Warriors, they have a suspicion that Baron has been started. Hacker and Shower with the only 2 on it. And Suning disengaged. They settle for the bottom lane inner turret.
I love watching the Baron juggle from Suning. They just haven't quite figured it out, gotten it crisp enough to execute on how beautiful their early and mid games have been throughout the LPL. For me, they're like the perfect playoff gate team. They will always beat the teams beneath them, but they very rarely make these miracle plays where they beat teams above them. And a lot of that does have to do with their talent ceiling. You know, Knight has been showing up on the back half of Spring Split, but he was pretty inconsistent on the front half, as well as their jungle position, constantly flexing between Tian and Hacker, trying to find the right formula there, has really slowed them down and put them in a position where it's a very close race for this last spot.
Well, as you remember on the flip side, Rogue Warriors, there have been so many games just like this. where they are this far behind, but they're still happy, they're still comfortable, and they're able to take it to the opposite team. It is a drastic gold lead they're up against Suning today, though.
And it's just the confidence and trust in SMLZ. Rogue Warriors understand that he is a great player, that he can hard carry a late game, and so they have no problem playing from behind. In fact, a lot of experience doing it.
So how do they get him to that point where he can start carrying this match? Because right now he's still sitting on 2.5 items.
He needs to farm lanes, but it's scary because he needs to farm lanes with a babysitter because of the flank pressure from Suning's composition, which means that farm is going to be denied from someone on Rogue Warriors' team, and Suning are doing a good job, like you said, splitting up that map, constantly dragging Rogue Warriors around.
That's an ultimate being used by Domi. It means Knights can actually take down this turret. Nice and easy. Inhibitor turret in the bottom lane, take it down. Reaction from Rogue Warriors a little bit too slow.
Where the rest of Suning feel like they're still hesitant to really pull the trigger around the Baron or how to really commit with these vision plays, Knight is the one guy who is decisive. He is making the plays happen for Suning right now.
But Rogue Warriors are trying to collapse onto Hacker, which is by connects. Hacker does have the backup of Xiao Al to prevent anyone from collapsing on their jungler.
No one
Knight
can
says,
stop
you know what?
him.
I'm taking an inhibitor.
Here
It's
comes
just Domi.
Kahlua.
No one's making their way down just yet. Kalua's going to recall back to base, and that could be Suning move towards Baron as soon as that happens.
Yep, there they go. Olaf needs to stay in the area because right now Rogue Warriors' only play is to look for a steal.
3 members coming out from Suning. Knight says, you know what, I'm probably going to die anyway. Let me try and take this inhibitor. He's actually going to get it. No way. Inhibitor will be taken out. No, it's not. They somehow kill him without getting a final auto attack off. Flawless goes in. Can he do it? No, he can't. They kill him before they take down Baron. Suning secure Baron buff.
So unfortunately, Knight doesn't get the bottom inhib. Just a sliver of health left on that one. Flawless tries to play the hero play, but Suning finally commit and execute on a Baron. They stop damage. They deny Flawless, CC lock, and kill him before he's able to take the steal.
Very clean Baron play coming out from Suning. They waited and waited and found the perfect opportunity to strike. And now it's looking like a much easier play, a much easier task for them to close out this match.
And this might only be table scraps here, so SMLC is trying to find the range. There he goes. Braum, of course, was looking to hop back over the wall, but not even the Infernal. So double Infernal and the Baron for Suning with a 10k gold lead at 27 minutes. This is your time, Suning.
Hacker says, thank you very much for the leash. I'll take that. My AD carry, who has 3 items and a Last Whisper, appreciates your efforts. Whereas SMLZ is still sitting on 2.5 items here as Caitlyn, struggling. He is the damage for Rogue Warriors at this point. Olaf, yes, had a lot of damage early game, but he's building towards tank. He has none right now.
And this is one of the issues with the Olaf in the LPL specifically, especially when looking across from Sejuani. At this point in the game, because he didn't find the snowball, he didn't find a way to run away with the early game, Sejuani is just going to mean so much more in these late game team fights.
Rogue Warriors were struggling to find farm for SMLZ to start this match. Now it's going to be much harder. He's in fact going towards a Hurricane.
That is my Baron doesn't matter build. So when I play in solo queue, I just assume that my team is going to lose every single Baron. So I pick these items because it doesn't matter. You can take as many Barons as you want. I will wave clear for days. But he cannot compete with this guy here.
Does mean
and he may be the difference.
Does mean he's going to lack a little bit of range when it comes to these fights. Suning take down a bottom lane inhibitor. They even get a top lane inner turret. Flawless still trying to this. Now SMLZ! Where did you go? Knight has the most solo kills for a reason, and he's found another target in this match.
So greedy, classic ADC. He steps up, tries to get the creeps, and he's immediately deleted from the map. Now there is no wave clear available, and Suning are pressing forward.
They're pushing for the top side of the map. Doinby flashes away, but he's already dead. His passive is going to do absolutely nothing. 5 members strong. Suning are pushing towards the base.
And at 29 minutes in this game, Suning have turned this on their heads. We said this was going to be heavily Rogue Warriors favored. They understood that they wouldn't go late, and they smashed them in the early game.
They smashed them early game. They play it to perfection. Rogue Warriors fall in game number 1. Suning 1-0 up.
And huge credit to Knight and Hacker. It was that mid-jungle duo that took over the game, ripped Rogue Warriors apart before they were ever able to assemble.
From start to finish, Suning knew exactly what they needed to do. 1, protect Hacker, make sure they could keep their bottom lane alive, and from there, execute their strategy. And they did it really well.
About hitting them before that guy on your screen gets up and going. I feel like Rogue Warriors are effectively Voltron. They need to come together, all of their pieces turn into the Megazord form.
But I also felt like Rogue Warriors team composition, yes, very Rogue Warriors-esque, where you have everyone who can protect SMLZ, but normally that's when he's on a hyper carry. Caitlyn can be that hyper carry, but not as much as a Cogmore later on.
Doesn't matter if that was Kog'Maw, if that was Caitlyn, if that was any other ADC. The problem was in pathing and in control. Doinby, frankly, got outclassed by Knight's Echo there, and Mouse, not necessarily a liability, but couldn't hold the pivot point up into the top side. So there was just too much pressure being exerted in pretty much every single lane. Huge props to Knight and Hacker. One of them is going to get the MVP.
Seems like Coach Stake has to change something going into the draft phase for game number 2. But if you don't give it to Knight after that solo kill, picking up his 12th solo kill in the LPL.
I don't know, it's hard to say. Like, I understand that it'll probably go to Knight because he had the flashy plays, but Hacker's pathing and how he was leading the way for Knight and opening up plays and moments for him was a pivotal moment in that game.
And he survived the early game, which he said was going to be the key point to success for Rogue Warriors. If Flawless can take him down, he was not able to do so, and with that, Suning pick up game number 1. Let's send it back to our analyst desk to break down the game.
Thank you so much, Fish and Frosk. We were just saying the exact same thing. Who would you give that MVP to, the Echo or the Sejuani? Because they just did so much for the team. But we're going to get the man of the match in a little bit, unless you've already... Do you already know?
All right. I need to let you know, esports, the E stands for entertainment. So
Okay.
it goes to Echo.
Okay, you're exactly right. Let's actually start with the pick and ban and take a look at how Suning set themselves up to win game 1, because this was unexpected. I do not think anybody saw this coming, that Suning were allowed to play their fast early game style against Rogue Warriors of all people, Flawless. And they did it.
Yeah. The big thing here about all of this draft thing is basically down to the Echo pick. It got the mid lane priority. Now, we've seen Knight on the Echo into the same matchup, into the Scion. Early levels with the double Dark Seals and also the minion dematerializer, you do get lane domination, and they also use that to punish Flawless so hard. The only weakness to the Olaf pick is that he's very susceptible to being bursted down. So you could see with the way Hacker played in that jungle, he went straight into the Olaf. That's not a natural instinct reaction for a Sejuani. He's actually afraid of the axes, but they knew they could follow up with the burst damage. They knew they had mid lane priority, so Doinby couldn't follow, and they basically picked Flawless apart and then controlled the game from there.
And it wasn't just that. The reason we bring up the pick and ban was it was all 3 lanes were prioritized very early on. The Swain sustained for the likes of Xiao Al, Knight getting his Echo, and then the Tahm Kench to keep bottom lane safe just in case SMLZ was feeling a bit frisky down there. And it ended up working out perfectly.
Suning Gaming had the better idea coming into the draft phase. They knew what picks to get them out of their lanes and snowball their early game. And on the flip side, I felt like Rogue Warriors' composition, in order for it to work, it needs to go either super early or super late. So the Caitlyn is a pick that mid-game you don't really have much damage, and if you look at the other members on her team, there's not much damage there either. So it needs to go super late for them, or they need to go like, the Olaf needs to camp the bot lane and win there hard early. They did neither. They took mid-game fights, and it's just not a dynamic enough team comp for Rogue Warriors to run against someone like Suning.
Yeah, especially against someone like Knight on the likes of that Echo, because he did so much. Like, talking about the laning phase, taking it into a Scion, it's not easy to lane against a Scion when he is shouting minion after minion at you. But Knight, you said he's played the matchup before. He took the double Dark Seal. He took the Corrupting Potion for sustain. And despite playing against a Scion of all people, he had mid-priority to follow Hacker's aggression.
Yeah, that's really the key point about this here. This is why Suning Gaming have been having such good early games, 1600 gold, even over IG. It all comes down to mid-priority for them, and I do expect Echo to be banned out by Rogue Warriors in the next game. Because not only is it good for you early game, it also exposes Rogue Warrior late game. They have nothing to contest the split push. This is something that's not going to be exposed for Rogue Warriors domestically, but if you go onto the international stage, you face teams like EU and LCK, they do have those split pushers, so this is something, it's kind of a test for them. Can they solve their split push problems?
And we could see Suning effectively playing across the map. I think we'll take the play where they were able to break open the game. I believe it was the large fight bottom lane. It was Suning fighting top and bottom multiple times in order to open up the map, but it's when Rogue Warriors tried to make a play happen. Take a look at your mini-map. You've already got 2 people running down and then the teleport as a 5-man collapse from Suning.
So damage does go past the first target, and also something that everyone always miss is that never move. when it comes back, it's actually an AoE. So he gets a beautiful three-man never move right there and pretty much just cleans up the fight from there.
Yeah, misses that last one, though. But again, he had already won the fight at that point. And from there, it was easy mid-game control. I believe it was like 3-9, 3-10 at that point in the game. And that's where Suning thrived. That's where we see them taking that early game lead, that mid-game lead that they are so comfortable with. It started to get a little dicey around the end of mid-game where we were both sitting here being like, okay, they've got the advantage. Where are they going to throw? Will they throw? But they played the 4-1. They were able to disengage when Rogue Warriors were fighting, and Knight split push to his heart's content. Not once, but twice. Taking a turret, then an inhib, and then SMLZ.
What was so great about watching a 4-1 right there is that we rarely see that composition being done in the LPL. Most of the times it isn't because we don't have good enough talent in the side lanes. It's because our 4-mans don't know, they don't understand to back away.
Don't fight. You don't have to fight right there.
You just wait for the Echo to do his job. So that's what was a pleasure for me about because this is an LPL team that actually understands that point. They were able to back away. They held Yoon on basically a very tight leash. Got him to get away from everything, and that late game Knight is just disgusting. Look at his burst damage. He didn't build Spellbinders, by the way. That was just the burst from the Proto Belt. And that finished him.
And then a needlessly large rod for needlessly large amounts of damage. He's actually going to take our MVP for that game off the huge performance of that Echo. Grand total 4, 2, and 6 MVP. Excellent performance. You said it at the beginning. I can't imagine we're going to see anything different, but Rogue Warriors, you have got to ban that Echo.
Oh, yeah, and you need to come up with a composition that actually has early game power against Suning Gaming. They're letting them run away with the game so far, and yeah, though I do agree Hacker was a big part of that. He really did change his style to go into the Olaf, to burst the Olaf down. That was a very smart decision by him. Good read on the composition. But at the end of the day, E is for entertainment and Echo. So well played there, Knight.
See, you say that, but E could very well mean upset for this next game. Yeah, don't think about it too hard.
Okay.
Because Suning, they've got a one-game advantage. We've seen them in this position before. They're not fans of going 2-0. They are an emotional team. We said all they need to do is have some smooth sailing and close it out. Can Rogue Warriors upset it, or are we going to see a 2-0 here?
This is about composure and also if Suning can have a second game plan. They're never going to be allowed on that Echo again. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to happen. So what is their second unit? What is their second big phase? Because the way they play is all about mid-priority. After the Echo, what other pick can you get mid-priority with?
My head is thinking Corki, Talia, all of those Galio champions. Knight, hey, we'll figure it out, of course. But first, we got to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. The LPL will be right back.